So what is the cloud shared responsibility model? No matter what cloud service provider you choose, you will still be responsible for things like data classification, identity and access management, application security, physical security, other things of that nature. But let's take a look and see what you're going to be responsible for depending on which service model you choose. The three different service models, remember, are SaaS, PaaS, and IaaS, or IaaS. If you choose the SaaS model, you're going to be responsible for the least amount of things, you have the least amount of responsibility for what's running in the cloud. But if you choose the IaaS, which is infrastructure as a service, then you'll be responsible for the most amount. Configuration, security, you'll be responsible for a lot more. All of the top cloud service providers, they publish what's called a responsibility matrix, or cloud shared responsibility model. And that model tells you what you'll be responsible for and what the provider or the cloud service provider will be responsible for. Let's take a look at a couple of those and see how they look. Okay, so this is Microsoft's shared responsibility in the cloud, and they have a better diagram as far as what you're responsible for as a customer and what they're responsible for as a service provider. Let's zoom in on this. Okay, as we can see here, starting on the left, they have SaaS, PaaS, IaaS, and on-prem. If you look at the information and the data, that's always going to be the same. So the customer is always responsible for the data, no matter what. And that goes all the way down until you start getting into SaaS, identity, and directory infrastructure. So if you're using IaaS, then you're going to be responsible for all of the identity and directory infrastructure. You'll see this a lot of times when companies migrate to the cloud. They take their physical servers and put them in the cloud. They're responsible for AD, Active Directory, setting up user accounts, just like they would be on site. So IaaS, like I said, is going to be the most taxing or the most work that you have to do, because you have to be responsible for all of those pieces. If you look at going down here, IaaS is got the most blue, so the customer is responsible for the most devices, the most systems in IaaS, and it gradually goes up as you get into the SaaS piece. So if you want to do the least amount of work, then you want to go with the SaaS model product. A lot of companies are doing that now because the SaaS is becoming so good and so focused on what they offer by using economies at scale and just doing so much of the same thing, that they can provide a high quality service better than the people that you have in-house. All right, let's take a look at one more. And this one is going to be from Google, shared responsibility and shared fate. Ooh, that sounds grim, on Google Cloud. So, okay. So in this scenario too, you can see that, drag this up a little bit. So the blue is the customer, and the gold, or the yellowish kind of gold color, is the cloud provider responsibility, which is going to be the CSP. So on-prem, they're just saying that if you run your own stuff and you're not even in the cloud, then yeah, you're going to, of course, you're going to be responsible for everything. And then IaaS, you put your infrastructure in the cloud, you're responsible for all of these things, but you get away with not worrying about the network being up, the audit logging, storage and encryption. And then you look at PaaS, just using the platform as a service. There's a lot of times developers use this. So you'd be responsible for the web application security, deployment, usage, things of that nature. And then you got SaaS, which you're responsible for the access policy and the content. They call it content here. I think they're just mixing words, but content versus data. They have data right here. Guest OS, data, and content. So you got to kind of watch the words that they put in here. I think some of this stuff is just some legal jargon, or just they're trying to cover their butts. But anyway, at the end of the day, just remember that you're always responsible for the security of your data, no matter what. And it's always better to over secure your data than to under secure your data, especially when you're dealing with the cloud providers. You want to be more paranoid when you're in the cloud, because you never know what pencil whipped or whatever kind of jargon or whatever kind of clause that they got to get the CSP to have if something happens in their favor versus your favor. But that's it. That was a quick video on the cloud shared responsibility model And just remember that the least amount of responsibility that you will have will be using a SaaS service, and the most amount of responsibility that you will have for security is on-premise and then IaaS in the cloud. So just remember that, and PaaS is always somewhere in the middle. But that's it. So subscribe if you want more content about the CCSP and security. Thanks for watching.